I've noticed over my career that in almost every situation that a student tells me they're experiencing imposter feelings, what they are also doing is they are engaging in a moment of aspiration, a moment of striving, a moment where they have exited their comfort zone, a moment where they're trying something new, taking a risk, growing. I arrived at Columbia University as a first-year undergraduate student in 1999, and the very first person I met there was a young woman named Ariana. We were waiting by the elevators, bringing our things to our dorm room, and so in the interest of polite conversation, Ariana asked me, "What did you do with your summer?" And I said, I spent my summer taking care of my special needs baby sister so that my parents could both work full-time. What did you do with your summer? And she said, I was touring Southeast Asia as a classically trained oboe player with the New York International Youth Philharmonic. And I was like, cool. And it was at that precise moment that I felt like a big, fat fraud. And like I had absolutely no reason to be where I was, not because Ariana did anything wrong. She did nothing wrong, just because. Because what right did a person like me have talking to, let alone going to college, with a classically trained oboe protege who spent her entire summer traveling the world sharing the gift of her talent? I don't know about you, but I'm what happens when a railroad worker meets a cocktail waitress at a country western bar off the Long Island Expressway called Maddie T's. By the way, I took my first steps in that bar on a sticky floor covered in sawdust. My parents were good, hardworking people, but we were not playing oboe in my house. And I'm what happens when you take that child and in search of a warmer life, you move him to Florida and put him on 5 acres in a rural community to raise chickens and Nubian dairy goats and grow radishes for the county fair and swim in brown water ponds and give ducklings swimming lessons in the wheelbarrow. It was an awesome way to grow up, but it did nothing to prepare me for that conversation with Ariana at the elevators, and it did nothing to prepare me for my first class in college. Literature Humanities, a great books course. We were assigned to read Homer's Iliad. I read it twice over the summer just to be extra prepared. And the professor said, "What did you think of the text?" And before anyone could say anything, one of my colleagues threw his hand up in the air and said, "I take issue with the English translation of the ancient Greek. I thought it was a bit pedestrian." And another student chimes in and goes, "Oh, thank God someone said it." Oh, thank God someone said it. I was ready to be like, "I liked the book." I, of course, did what any self-respecting grown man would do to process my shame after class, and I found some bushes and crawled behind them and cried. And thank God my professor was an observant and empathetic person. He noticed I was withdrawn the first couple classes, and he invited me to his office where I decided to be honest about the fact that I felt that I didn't belong, about the fact that I felt both invisible and conspicuous at the same time all the time, about the fact that I felt like maybe I just wasn't cut out for this. Despite being surrounded by caring faculty and administrators, and despite being told over and over again that I did belong, it just felt like every conversation I encountered and every social and cultural fact that I saw was gathering around me, whispering to me in unison, "You do not belong here. You can't sit with us." That's a Mean Girls reference. And that was me, by the way. That was me, a white, cisgender, at that time closeted gay male. I can't even imagine what my other classmates must have felt like. That whisper that I heard, it must have sounded like cannon fire to them. Fast forward almost 25 years, I'm very happily back at my alma mater, working as the Director of Education for Columbia's Center for Veteran Transition. As you heard, we build free open access resources for veterans and transitioning service members to help them thrive in the college classroom no matter where they go to school. And you won't be surprised to hear that one of the most significant challenges for this population as they exit service and enter higher education settings is feeling like they don't belong. Feeling both invisible and conspicuous at the same time, all the time. Feeling like maybe college just isn't for them. We call that imposter syndrome. I prefer the slightly less pathological imposter phenomenon, the experience of feeling like you don't belong, despite evidence that you are welcome and deserving and worthy. It's crazy. And there are two primary reasons in my experience that people experience imposter phenomenon. One is that your institution is in fact signaling to you actively in ways explicit and implicit that you do not belong. And if that's your situation, I'm here to tell you that's not on you. You don't have imposter phenomenon, baby. You are listening and hearing what is being said to you. And if that is the case, you need to find an ally or an advocate straight away and start making a plan. But there's another reason people experience it. It's not talked about as much, and it's less menacing. I've noticed over my career that in almost every situation that a student tells me they're experiencing imposter feelings, what they are also doing is they are engaging in a moment of aspiration, a moment of striving, a moment where they have exited their comfort zone, a moment where they're trying something new, taking a risk, growing. I've also noticed that most of the hallmarks of imposter phenomenon are also conveniently the hallmarks of things like humility and servant leadership. Everywhere we go, we're told that imposter phenomenon is something we need to beat and manage and mitigate and cure. And that if you're experiencing these things, it's your personal or moral failing. But what if? What if imposter phenomenon is a thing that happens when you are engaged in the hard work of transforming your life? What if not feeling 100% comfortable where you are is a temporary side effect of changing the DNA of your professional and personal world? What if the fact that I experienced imposter feelings has made me better in this work by forging in me the capacity to understand in a genuine way those feelings in others? What if it's not about you being broken? What if it's about you becoming? Thank you so much.
Ooh.